Hello, good morning, Ibrahim. Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, ma.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're about 25, 27 now, so we'll just wait a bit for people to join in, then we can start. Hello, Miss Fakria. I guess we could start now. We're about 40, so I think you can start with the introduction, please.
Okay. I guess we're about to start. Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us this early morning. Today's program is going to extend through 2 hours. And with us, we have various speakers. The founder of Girl Child Concerns, Dr. Meru Mandara. We have a Nigerian and an Ethiopian youth representative that is going to be with us. We're going to have the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, who's going to be joining us a bit later. So to start off, we know that one of the most pressing issues that plagues our society, as well as other many emerging societies, has been the issue of the girl child in terms of her education, her prosperity within our societies. And today's talk is going to focus entirely on how do we work around issues, what are the initiatives that have been implemented by organizations like Girl Child Concerns in order to preserve the dignity and restore the prosperity pathways for the girl child in our societies. So I am going to introduce Dr. Mero, who is going to come on and discuss some of these initiatives that have been in place for a long, long time. I'm sure Dr. Mero is no stranger to any of us here. If you've been in the social development sector, you know Dr. Mero. So to introduce her, Dr. Mero is a gynecologist and a public health physician with extensive knowledge and experience in strategic planning and implementation of health and social transformation initiatives. Dr. Mero has worked with a wide range of stakeholders locally and internally, including high-level government officials, traditional religious leaders, women groups, civil societies all across Africa and the world at large. In addition to her career experiences and work as a gynecologist, she has led many initiatives, including being the Senior Reproductive Health and HIV Advisor for USAID, Health System Specialist for the University of Columbia, the country representative of Packard Foundation, and more recently, the Gates Foundation. She's currently a senior fellow at the Children Investment Fund Foundation in the UK, which supports the localization of the foundation's programs in Africa. This includes universal healthcare and public healthcare initiatives, as well as leading on Keeping Girls in School in Africa initiative. So as part of her civic responsibility, Dr. Mero is the founder and board chair of Girl Child Concerns, an NGO that has dedicated itself to improving the lives of women and girls through providing educational opportunities and life-saving skills for girls, married adolescents, providing them with income generation, especially with internally displaced women in the northeast region of Nigeria. She's presently the member a member of the UN Secretary General's Advisory Group on Central Emergency Response Fund that helps shape and continuously improve the performance of the UN Central Emergency Response Funds. Dr. Mero is a visiting senior lecturer at the University of Maiduguri and ABU Zaria University departments of obstetrics and gynecology. She serves as a member of the Governing Council of Nile University, Abuja, Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology of Nigeria, and the Advisory Council of Ondo State University of Medical Sciences. She's currently the special advisor and coordinator for sustainable development partnerships and humanitarian support to the executive governor of Borno State. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, Dr. Meru. I will yield the floor to you now.
Thank you very much, Fakria, and good morning. And thank you for waking up very early in school and to chair this session. Good morning, young people and the future of Nigeria. Good morning, Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, and thank you very much for your leadership and for your support and making sure that you're taking the lead in anything that affects women and girls in Nigeria. I will today just take 15 minutes to just give you highlights of what has happened so far, based on which the young people of Africa met and decided to move forward. And that is creating, if we could share the slide, please, Keeping Girls in School Initiative, Keeping Girls in School in Africa Initiative. Can we have the slide up, please? Now, this initiative, I think before we understand why this initiative is important, it is important that we realize that a lot of us in Africa believe that Africa will be the future of humanity and the future of the economy of the world. Can you hear me? Fakria, can you say yes so that I can know?
Yes, we can hear you. But we can't see you.
Can somebody, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. We know that we all have hopes and dreams about Africa, and a lot of the people who are following the world trend in things know that the world consensus is that Africa is going to be the leader. Slideshow only will be in the near future. But how can we do that? We can only claim that we can only get the dividend of our population and our heritage if we do a number of things. And there are a lot of
Dr. Mero, you seem to be having issues with your internet because you're breaking.
things now. Can we have a slideshow, please? So right, if we want to claim this position. At the ages of 15 and 20 who cannot read or write, 61 of them are female. The side slides. An estimated 30 million are unschooled in Africa, and about 70% of children entering primary education in sub-Saharan, only 70% of children entering primary school in sub-Saharan Africa complete. While for secondary school education, it's only about 29.5 and 13.9% that finish junior secondary school and senior secondary school respectively. Unfortunately, the capacity take care of all children who want to go into secondary school is only 36. Structures are being created for inequity and social injustice. Girls' enrollment in secondary education is only between 30 to 35%, with a completion rate of only about 14%. And girls are particularly disadvantaged due to the social dynamics we all know. What we know is that also education for girls is not just education for making money, education for job, education for knowledge. Education for girls has much more significance, because every year of a girl that goes to school, every year of secondary education for a girl reduces her likelihood of marriage before the age of 18 years by 5 percentage points. And you will see the significance of this as I speak to you. And 1 extra year of schooling increases her individual earning capacity by 10%. And a child born to a mother who can read or write, who has finished secondary school, is 50% more likely to survive past the age of 5. So you see, the education of girls is not about her education. It's about the future of her children, it's the kind of family she raises, it's whether her children survive or not, whether she herself survives in childbirth or not, and whether or not she takes the decision to take her children to hospital or not, what kind of food she gives her family to eat, her knowledge of nutrition. So the whole world is actually anchoring about level of education of the girl. Unfortunately, a lot of you are aware that many NGOs and governments and international communities have invested a lot of money in investing in education. But unfortunately, most of these interventions end in primary school enrollment. And even that of the federal government of Nigeria ends with junior secondary school enrollment. This makes it extremely difficult because the studies have shown that primary school completion hardly have any impact on the lives of girls and women and the family, and also junior secondary school. So where you have significant change, improvement in the life of women, girls, families, their boys, their girls, their husbands, is actually when they finish secondary school. That's when you find the first leap, and then it becomes well established after a tertiary institution. The most significant impact of education for girls is at completion of secondary schools. And so therefore, this is what informed this decision. Now, led by the Sultan of Sokoto, the Ashanti Hene of Ghana, and the Kabaka of Uganda, a new approach was designed to build on ancient trusted roles of African traditional rulers and religious leaders to address these issues, and recognizing that the decision, what you need to understand is that, yes, all of us on this platform care about this since we've been talking about it, we've been working on it for years. But my opinion and your opinion don't matter. What really matters is the opinion of the parents of these girls, because these girls are so minor, they're little, these little boys and girls, they don't go to school until their parents tell them to go to school. The parents who tell them to go to school actually are not educated, so they do not know the value of education. All they see in educated people are people who have failed them, who are pushing for social inequity, beautiful cars, who are matching their cars with their dresses, yet they don't have food to eat. So they do not trust us, and they have no reason to trust us. Who do they trust? These people who make this important decision for the lives of the children and the future of Africa are people who trust only their traditional and religious leaders. So therefore, whatever we're going to do, these traditional and religious leaders, they are their trusted governments, they are their trusted allies. We need to build and work with them so that they be the people who are speaking to it. And we have the humility to accept that we actually have not succeeded in so many years of work that we've done. So these decision makers are not likely to have formal education themselves, and therefore we need to move on with the people. So therefore, the decision by the Sultan of Ghana and the Kabaka of Uganda to bring all African traditional and religious leaders together to discuss this initiative and let them take the lead while we support them, we give them technical assistance, we give them data, and the voices and the elevation is what happened when the two came together, and the Kabaka of Buganda and the Ashanti and the Sultan came together and had a conference last year to discuss girls in school in Africa. In this conference, it was attended by these two leaders, and then the address was made by our own Amina Mohammed and the former emir of Kano. In January last year, Jari agreed. It was attended by leaders from over 260 countries, 265. And it was a young group, traditional leaders, religious leaders, women group, young people, and it was also attended by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And internally, we have organizations like UNICEF, UNFPA, Dangote Foundation, and others. And it was well supported by the Children Investment Fund Foundation. The objective of the initiative is therefore to bring together African traditional leaders and let them define themselves what they need to do in Africa. And they are the ones finding the solutions. And it will interest you that it was during that preparation for that conference that the former Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sunusi II, raised the issue that poverty is real. However much we want to put girls to school or boys to school, poverty is real. So therefore, he urged that we add life skills and livelihood skills to whatever we're going to do. In secondary school, by the time a child finishes secondary school or she finishes secondary school, should be market relevant, like coding, like computer repair, like repair of phones, not just making sweaters or how to cook and have to make some money. And also the youth people, and Jari will speak to that, made a pledge at that conference. And the women also made a pledge in that conference that they will support these traditional leaders. They will work with them. They will galvanize women so that women like myself and the Honorable Minister can actually live by example, so that these young people, these parents, when they see us, they would have a reason to want to send their children to school. Not just, they're not just seeing bad eggs, but they're seeing everybody so that they know that their children, once educated, would have choices what to do. Now, so therefore, this initiative is a social transformation that brings forgotten girls to the educated table. The traditional and religious leaders shape social norms, culture, and behavior of a mass majority of people in Africa, regardless of class, religion, and gender. They are trusted and respected by communities, and many of them are responsible for the development of their communities. This initiative will work and support these leaders to develop strategies and solutions from within and use their positions to ensure African girls finish at least secondary school and in the process acquire life and livelihood skills. This initiative will be led by the traditional leaders, religious leaders in Africa as advocates for keeping girls in school, countries, and through increased enrollment, retention, and completion of secondary school and inclusion of life and livelihood skills. African and traditional leaders share ideas and best practices and articulate their own strategies. And so therefore, they are central to defining the position of women and girls in Africa because of the position that they have. So this initiative will be done. What will be our role? Our role will be giving technical assistance to increase their understanding on the significance of keeping girls in school in such a way that they will own the initiative in the interest of their communities. We'll support them in developing solutions from within Africa and share best practices from within themselves. And we'll support them to advocate publicly for all girls to have the opportunity to complete secondary education and also acquire life and livelihood skills. Understanding the social context and the cultural context is crucial for all of us working in Africa, especially for you young people. Our culture, our religion, the values we were brought up, they are not inimical to development. We need to understand these things, come from where our people are, and then see how we can make change. The key to a sustained solution in keeping girls in school lies in the communities. It doesn't lie with the NGO. It doesn't lie with you and I. It doesn't lie even with government. It lies with the communities themselves, understanding, owning, and taking responsibility for themselves for not only keeping their girls in school, but also holding their leaders, their government, and holding us, NGOs and civil society, accountable for creating an enabling environment that will encourage keeping girls in school. Understanding the social context is crucial to creating trust and thus lower suspicion and loss of culture and religion, and perceive culture that culture and religion is inimical to girls' education. For me, what is crucial is that we must all come together to solve this problem. And also that young people should take the lead beyond social media to actually go down, make your hands dirty and ensure you change the world. After all, people like me have probably 30 years to live, but you guys have at least half a decade to live. And so therefore, you have to take the responsibility for shaping the future, for shaping your future and the future of your children. What for me is very, very important as I step aside is that we can all do something small in our own little way. What is not acceptable is not to do anything. We must always do something. I thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mero, for the extensive explanation of what exactly the Keeping Girls in School initiative is about. One of the things I should have started with is a few ground rules, but I see that we've been abiding by them. Muting your mics. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chats, and it will be picked up and directed to the person that is most appropriate to answer the question for you. Before we continue to the next agenda, I would like to welcome the Honorable Minister, Dame Pauline Telen. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I see we also have the wife of the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, Hajia Aisha Umi El Rufai. Thank you so much for being with us this early morning of a Friday. We also have a representative of the Kebbi State Governor's wife, Hajia Hafsatu Sule. Thank you so much for being with us. And without further ado, I will introduce the next agenda. We'll be having Hajia Farida Sada Yusuf. She is the lead for the Keeping Girls in School initiative in Nigeria. And she will be speaking to us about the initiative's current predicament in Nigeria and the role that the young people groups and champions that have been chosen to lead this initiative, how they're faring. So we would love to have Hajia Farida Sada Yusuf.
Hello.
Is she with us?
Yes, hello, can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning all, Honorable Minister, wives of the state governors here present, other distinguished guests. We are very happy to be with you this morning. Thank you, and also the youth advocate representative. Well, Dr. Mero Mandara has introduced the KGIS project to us, the background, and what is expected of all of us. So I'm just going to give a very brief overview of what the KGIS in Nigeria will be doing. One of what it is doing is identifying those communities that have the lowest girls' secondary school attendance rate. The project will engage traditional and religious leaders in the identified pilot communities as co-advocates. It will mobilize leaders who will reach 500,000 girls across the countries, that is Nigeria and Ethiopia, providing focused technical support to them for the creation and activities of national advocacy networks. The advocacy network will build on and partner with existing faith and girls' education initiative. That is why most of us are here actually, bringing together traditional and religious leaders, women leaders, and youth advocates in mobilizing for change, implementing community initiatives, and holding governments accountable for enacting effective policies on girl-child education. Education for girls. I would like to just give some brief indices on the girl-child education and the children's education in general. The demographic health survey conducted by the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, and the Nigerian government in 2015 puts the figure of out-of-school children at 10.5 million, but the figure was disputed by UBEC, stating that the figure was no longer reliable, taking into consideration the number of children that have been displaced and the increasing number of births. It projected that this number has risen from 10.5 to 13.2 million, with 7.93 million girls and 5.28 million boys. You can see the discrepancy, the difference of about over 2 million, in fact, between the boys and the girls. This is very worrisome, especially with the security situation in the country. More women are becoming widows and children becoming orphans. Girls have the right to education, skill acquisition, and self-actualization. Girl-child education becomes an imperative for the attainment of national development. Research demonstrates clearly that a strong focus on education is capable of transforming society in the long term. Education for the female girl within the family unit is key to the development of the whole and by extension, the community. So findings, over 70.8% of women aged 20 to 29 in the Northwest are unable to read and write, compared to 9.7% in the Southeast zone, that is in Nigeria. More than 2/3 of 15 to 19-year-old girls in the North are unable to read a sentence, compared to less than 10% in the South. In 8 northern states, over 80% of women are unable to read and write, compared with 54% of men. So you can see the difference between men and women that are able to read within the 8 northern states. For instance, in Jigawa State, 94% of women and 42% of women are illiterate. We can see the gap there. Only 4% of female complete secondary school in northern Nigeria. And as Dr. Bandara earlier mentioned, the impact is felt, or we start to feel the impact of education once a girl has completed secondary school. The children of educated mothers are 50% more likely to survive past the age of 5 years. This is, I'm just reiterating what Dr. Mandara said earlier. While educated mothers are also more likely to send their own children to school. Almost 9 in 10 women with higher education and 2/3 women with secondary education give birth in a health facility, but only 1 in 10 uneducated women do so. 80% of children whose mothers are educated are well nourished, compared to less than 50% of children whose mothers are uneducated. I'm giving all these figures because it's alarming, and maybe it will be a wake-up call for us as members of the community to be able to rise up and support girls' education, most especially in the northern states of the country. These are more figures that I would not like to waste your time going through, but it is something that you can see. With these figures, it implies that 55% of eligible children are in school, while that is for the primary school. And then for the secondary school, we only have 19% of eligible girls in school. So we have a lot of dropouts along the line between primary and secondary school. And remember, the impact of education, we start feeling it once the girl graduates from secondary school. Of course, we all know the importance of girl-child education to the family, the community, and the nation at large. I don't really think I have to go through that. Sorry. The next slide, please. Consequences and suggestions on the way forward. So some suggestions on the way forward to encourage girls' education is to co-opt and train selected female and male broad-minded and well-read religious and community leaders into advocacy programs, highlighting aspects of faith that encourage and feature education, health, and maturity, as well as the concept of preventing harm as precondition for a successful marriage. Gatekeepers, that is the traditional rulers who are the leaders in this Keeping Girls in School initiative, can also be persuaded to support the effort in ensuring that all girls from their communities are enrolled in and attending schools. Structure tangible and short-term incentives for both adults and girls in pursuit of girl education. Government policy framework and provision of adequate resources and synergy across relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. Women groups, health education, social protection, community development, justice, water, agriculture, and security. These are all suggested way forward for girls' education and completion. Make learning attractive in schools by creating safe spaces for girls, sharing experiences, and for acquiring life skills, vocations, leadership and entrepreneurship, as well as information relating to nutrition, hygiene, creativity integrated with religious education. Making the school environment safer and more conducive for learning, improve on the quality of teaching, ease difficulty of transportation, because as we are all aware, a lot of our schools are situated quite far from the community. So you find that the children have to trek a long distance to be able to get to school. And this encourages discourages quite a number of parents, especially for the girl child, because there may be a lot of dangers and harms along the way. So it hinders the education of the girl child. So after giving these figures, because we are talking to youth, I would like to mention what are the roles and responsibilities of the youth groups and identified champions that we will be working with in this Keeping Girls in School initiative. So the initiative will escalate the impact of this movement by engaging African youth groups to create and drive messaging for Keeping Girls in School that is based on their local context and resonates within their aspirations. KGIS will partner with identified influential young leaders at regional, national, and community level to advance the initiative's agenda within existing youth movements and networks linked to education, health, gender, equity, and economic development. African youth groups and champions shall advocate for the support traditional and religious leaders to ensure every girl in Africa has the opportunity to complete at least 12 years of education. They shall also support girls in their communities by establishing local mentorship and outreach initiatives. They will use the power of digital to hold governments accountable, and that is primarily why they're here. We know how youth are with the media, social media, and mobilize, advocate, support for the improvement in girls' enrollment and retention in schools, as well as gain livelihood skills. The African youth shall amplify the voices of the traditional and religious leaders, the African women leaders' statements on girl-child education. So we also have, as Dr. Mandara mentioned earlier, at the KGIS conference that was held in January 2019, the youth groups that were at that conference made a commitment, and we are reaching out to them so that we will remind them about these commitments and also ensure that these commitments are fulfilled. The commitments are as follows. They will create advocacy for girls on the need for girls' education. They will use social media network to push for girls' education. They will also sensitize communities on keeping girls in school, create campaign on the need for creating a safe space for the girl child in school, just like we mentioned earlier. MSSN, that is the Muslim Student Society, specifically committed to supporting the state's area councils and mandating them to mobilize on inclusion of girl child education. They will also strengthen the existing extramural classes to accommodate second chance education for girls. What that means is that any girl that along the line had to drop off for one reason or the other, either got married, got pregnant, or for whatever reason, there will be some special classes for them to be able to bridge the gap and catch up. The youth also committed to partnering with other young focused NGOs to organize reward mechanisms for performing teachers in the communities. We're hoping that will encourage teachers, especially to be posted to the rural areas. They will also be organizing career talks for girl students and support fundraising to sponsor indigent girls. They also committed to taking KGIS advocacy to alumni and other networks across the country. So these are the commitments of the youth groups that were part of the conference. This is what we have that is addressed to the youth. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you so much, Hadia Farida, for extensively walking us through the Keeping Girls in School initiative. Before we move on to the next agenda, I would like to recognize some esteemed members that have joined us. We have here with us Hajia Maria Aminu Tambuel, the wife of the governor of Sokoto State. Thank you for being with us. We have the youth program officer for UNICEF, Joanne Yambusela. Thank you for being with us. We have the communications officer for UNFPA, Corey Habib. It's such a great pleasure having you on here with us. And we have Hajia Rekia Sunusi, the wife of Sarki Mohammed Mamadou Sunusi. Thank you so much for being with us. So we'll skip right to our next agenda. We're gonna have the Ethiopian youth representative of the Keeping Girls in School initiative, join us. The team in Ethiopia has been working tirelessly to ensure that this initiative gains enough ground and that they start seeing results. And they've been doing incredibly as of lately. So if we have Yilma Boru, could you please unmute your mic? I don't think Yilma is here with us yet. So I think we'll skip to the Nigerian youth representative and then come back to Yilma. So Abdulbaki Jari is a Nigerian journalist.
I think Yilma is there. Yilma is there. He is trying to unmute.
Oh, okay, okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Yilma from Ethiopia. I am representing Ethiopian Interface Forum for Development Dialogue and Action, in short, IFDA. We are the one who represent Ethiopia to implement Keeping Girls in School project. And we have already joined with the Nigerians team, and we have gone through various steps in forwarding the project activities underway. Just for, in order to give you some brief highlight about our organization, IFDA, as I said, Ethiopian Interface Forum for Development Dialogue and Action, is a network of 9 faith-based organizations representing the major religions operating in the country. Since the establishment in 2004, it has implemented various projects in partnership with different development agencies by primarily engaging religious leaders and religious institutions, which are representing major religion existing in Ethiopia. So these faith-based organizations have a long-term presence on the ground and long years experiencing especially in mobilizing and creating awareness among the many communities, have a strong network and partnership and organizational structure in the ground. So with this background, we have established a relationship with the Nigerian teams, and we expect to expose or use faith-based organization at a grassroots level, which would be instrumental for achieving the objectives of keeping girls in school projects in Ethiopia. So more or less, the objective of the objective and the structure and the various activities related to this project is a replica from Nigerians, and we are on the process of implementing various activities in our country. And in order to go through this project, we are going to establish an advocacy network by engaging those prominent traditional and religious leaders, and as well as we will establish youth advocates, women champions, to achieve the objective of keeping girls in school at a local community level. So far we have targets, have made some kind of research and identified those areas with the lowest girls secondary school attendance rate, and we will target these regions like Afar, South Nation nationality people, Somali, Gambella, Oromia regions have, the lowest girls' secondary school attendance, which rates us, very lowest in the country. So we are in the preparatory stage due to the fact that, the COVID-19 have really undermined the way to forward, in putting in place, various strategies and approaches to implement the project activities. And most importantly, we have been, in difficult times the last couple of weeks. As you may heard, it was difficult just to have internet connections and, gatherings of, the various groups in our project due to, the violence erupted and the chaos, followed the killings of, the Oromo, the known artists in Ethiopia and the following, various violences in the country. So currently, we have already, select various representative of youth, women, and religious leaders based on a certain criteria and from our own existing structure at the grassroots level. This is very important because we can, reach the community at the grassroots level where the problem exists. So this structure is very important for us to select, prominent representatives from religious leaders, from traditional leaders, youth advocates, and for women groups, women champions groups, to be, advocates for this project. Just for your information, we have like, structure platforms where we can meet, use, engage in churches, Sunday schools. There is a Sunday school weekly program in Orthodox Church where a lot of youth engage. There is also training center, clergy training center. We can also meet, various religious leaders and users there. Theological school in Protestant churches, youth ministry program in Protestant churches as well, women ministry program in Catholic and Protestant churches, and there is also Dawa groups where we can meet, use the structure in the Muslim representative from Muslim community. So it is a faith-based approach, and where we can, address the challenge of, the challenge that hinders girls to school enrollment and retention. And at the end of the day, it's easy for us to bring the required objective, to meet the required, the attended objective of this program, this project in Ethiopia. So we will move forward. We are learning from Nigeria's team so far, a lot of topics and a lot of experience we gained, and we, once this problem solved, and hopefully in the coming weeks we will start implementing actual activities related to keeping girls in school project in Ethiopia context. I think I provided you some brief about Ethiopian context, and thank you for listening from my side.
Thank you so much, Yilma Boru, for that extensive explanation of what you guys have been doing on ground in Ethiopia. I think one of the main things that we've picked up from what you said is your ability to use faith-based organizations and community governance structures to push for grassroots-driven initiatives to have girls back in school. That is quite incredible. So, but now we're gonna hear from the Nigerian side about the progress they've made to upholding some of the pledges they've made from the conference in January 2019. So we're going to have the Nigerian representative, who is Abibaki Jari. He's a Nigerian journalist, a writer and media activist. He is the founder of International Hausa Day, Ranar Hausa, very popular on Twitter, which is a day set aside to celebrate the Hausa language. He's also the founder of Ehame, the new symbol for writing Hausa language. He's the former head of Hausa Niger News Media and the former deputy editor of Nishadi TV. Abdulbaki, if you're here with us, could you please unmute your mic?
Hi, Fakria.
Hi, thank you for being with us.
All right, thank you so much. All protocols really observed. I want to start by thanking Dr. Mero Mandara for giving us the opportunity to participate in this movement, as I would like to call it. This is really something very, very unique for us to contribute our own quotas. So first of all, after the conference, what we did was we tried to first reach out to traditional rulers, those that are closer to the people. And we tried doing that by reaching out to people using local languages and try to talk to people about the conference and why traditional rulers specifically were targeted and the role they are supposed to play or they should play in this. So we have reached out to so many of them, including religious leaders, some of them at the highest level, including some of the most prominent organizations in Nigeria, which they have all accepted, and some of them we have seen how specifically they started tailoring their lectures and specifically some of their classes to young girls, which we believe is the right step and the right direction. And I would also like to inform all of us that there are some groups which have sprung up, some of them which are specifically supporting girl child education. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can. Please continue.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So some of them specifically are targeting young girls, trying to put them into schools. We are being in collaboration with so many of them. I would specifically like to mention there is an organization, Girl Child Support Education in Katsina State. I think so far they have up to about 5 or 6 young girls they are supporting. There are so many of them also. I think there's one in Yobe and one in Kano also. These are young people who are, some of them are employed and some of them are business owners on their own right, which have come together and are voluntarily donating money to see that at least what they can do in order to get girls into school. So what we are looking at this year before the start of Corona is actually to get more people and to set up more of these kind of organizations and to collaborate with a lot of them. Specifically, there is one that is already in progress in Nasarawa State. It is specifically also for young girls, that is from secondary school actually. That's JS1 to JS3, which we hope to see that we are sponsored by starting with at least 2 of them. By the end of this year, hopefully what we hope to achieve is that there will be many other organizations specifically that are being funded by young people that will be contributing money at the end of each month to see that by the end of this year, God willing, we'll get up to about additional 50 to 100 young girls that we would be sponsoring through this kind of initiatives that are being fronted by young people. So this is what we have done so far by collaborating with more religious leaders and traditional rulers. And on the other hand, there are groups that we are working together with and groups who have voluntarily joined this movement in order to see that we have supported more young girls and make them as models in their own communities and villages so that many other young girls would want to follow suit and learn from their own experience. And specifically for those young people who are being donating generously to see that there is improvement in girl child education, especially in the greater part of northern Nigeria, where that is quite a challenge that both the young people, the traditional rulers, the government have accepted that there is this challenge. So we want to start doing something and getting away from what Dr. Mero said, from the media, social media activism, writing, tweeting, to getting down and doing a very tangible work. And the last part that I would also like to tell us is that we have also tried to, through the use of media, that's the mainstream media, some of the major news houses that are available in, especially in the northern region, by working together with them to promote some of those activities. Like I'm a journalist, and there is also other, I think in VOA, there are also other specifically youth programs that are already promoting these activities and what young people are doing. It is our hope that so many this project would get to so many young people who would also join, and God willing, together we'll see what we can do to make this world a better place. Okay, yeah, back to you.
Thank you so much, Abdul Baiki. Before we move on to the next agenda, I'd like to welcome His Highness the Emir of Kano State, Muhammad Sarki Muhammad Sanusi II, who happens to be one of the brains behind the Keeping Girls in School initiative. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. And I would also like to welcome Haji Rekia Sanusi. Thank you so much for being with us today. So for the next item on our agenda, we're going to have the Minister of Women Affairs, the Minister of Women Affairs of Nigeria. And just bear with me for a second as I introduce her. My apologies, just a tech glitch right here. So thank you so much to the Minister for joining us. I will yield the floor to you now, and we'll take questions for the Minister right after she has given us her brief.
I would just like to, on behalf of all of us, also thank her extensively. The Honorable Minister was with us last week, Saturday, when she addressed Nigerian women and African women about the significance of keeping girls in school. And she's very, very, very passionate around keeping girls in school, and has taken education as her baby, as her daily, if you like, daily communion, to advocate for the education of women and girls and the empowerment of women and girls. And today, again, she's with us. So in 1 week, we've had the minister twice coming up, and you'll know how passionate she is. And this has come from her history, as you remember, she was a minister before, and she was the deputy governor of Plateau State. All these years that I've known her, we call her Auntie Pauline Talent. Our auntie has been a champion for women and girls, and today she is leading the women and women in Africa, women in Nigeria, and co-supporting our own African Amina Mohammed in leading the African women as champions for the education of women and girls. And auntie, your brother is in the house. His Highness Sarkin Kano, Muhammad Sanusi, and his wives are all here. They're incognites. They're not on the pictures, but they're here with us. And thank you very much, Sarkin Kano, for being the brain behind this. He was actually one of the people who really fleshed this and brought this to life from the very, very beginning. Thank you very much. And over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mero Mandara. Our moderator, Fakria Hashim, Your Excellencies, wives of governors here present. I can see Her Excellency, the wife of the governor of Kaduna State. I can see Her Excellency, the wife of the governor of Sokoto State. All other excellencies here present. Our speakers, and our guests from Ethiopia, Ilma, and the representative of the youth from Ethiopia and Nigeria. I thank you very much for your concerns and very valued remarks. Let me begin by commending our chair of the African continent on the girl-child concerns and her very able team for throwing up the need for the involvement of youths in keeping our girls in school. I would therefore want to crave your indulgence to observe at least a minute's silence for all those who have lost their lives and their loved ones in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, as well as the result of rape and other forms of gender-based violence that engulf our country. Please, let's observe a minute's silence for our girls. May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed rest in peace. We also remember with tears in our eyes, still fresh in our hearts, and pray for continuous repose of the soul of our flying officer, Tolupe Arotile, the first ever female combat helicopter pilot in service, whose unfortunate and untimely death occurred on Tuesday, the 14th July 2020. She was laid to rest yesterday. I pray that the Almighty God will console all mothers, all her friends, the youths, and her parents, especially the Air Force and Mr. President. Our hearts goes with all our youths and our children that have lost their lives in untimely deaths as such. I recall with nostalgia the fateful day of 15th of October 2015, when alongside her colleagues, I joined the Chief of Air Staff to wing her. Her death is a colossal loss to Nigerian women and girls. We have indeed lost a rare gem. Our only consolation is that the fact that in her lifetime, she left behind an enduring legacy of professionalism and footprints in the sands of time. In the efforts to rid off our country of armed bandits and other criminal elements, she was an epitome of what educating a girl child should look like. In articulating the importance of the girl child education, the 1995 Beijing Platform for Action identified the girl child as one of the 12 critical areas of concerns. Girls' rights are codified within the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and include non-discrimination, protection from harm and abuse, and full participation in family, social, and cultural life. The amended 1999 Nigerian Constitution and the Child Rights Act of 2003 stipulate that every child, boy or girl, has the right to be educated. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals and their targets also provide an opportunity to mainstream the issues of girls in all sectors, as well as provide a platform for advocacy on his holistic drive in their empowerment to end all forms of discrimination against them. The importance of the girl child in nation building cannot be overemphasized. This is why the girl child education is top on my agenda in delivering on the key mandate of my ministry at this crucial time in our nation's history. There is a saying that educating the girl child, you educate the nation. The role of youth in supporting the girl child education. In Nigeria today, it is estimated that girls constitute the highest number out of the 13.5 million school children and those not receiving any form of training. Though education is a fundamental right of every child, be it boy or girl, as articulated in the National Policy on Education, several pull and push factors have been attributed to this. The events of the past few months have opened up our eyes to the evil that has bedeviled our dear country. More than ever before, the surge in the number of rape cases recorded across the country is alarming. We have had increase in the number of reported cases of child molestation, especially girls in school by caregivers, sex for marks, even at primary school level, rape of the young girls on their way to school, poor water sanitation, hygiene, and sanitation conditions, which keep girls out of school during their menstrual cycles, early marriages, cultism, drug abuse, ignorance on the part of parents, hidden charges on the cost of education, even when education is said to be free, kidnapping for ransom, targeting girls as weapons of war, e.g., the Chibok and Dapchi girls' experience is still fresh in our minds. General insecurity, poor quality of teachers, poor infrastructure, just to name a few. This is where the role of the youth in supporting the girl child education is more than ever before, seems very crucial at this time. As vanguards of the society, it is time to join the clarion call to break all barriers that hinder the education of the girl child at all levels. In this regard, the average Nigerian youth within their families, community setup, or as member of a group must at this time take up the challenges of ensuring that every girl child goes to school, whether in the north, south, east, or west. They must begin to interrogate the underlying factors affecting the girl child. In this case, it is important to them to begin to interrogate the underlying causes of the issues so as to be better prepared to speak out. Youth at all levels must not turn a blind eye to the growing levels of violence in ensuring that they break the cycle of reinforcing practices that affect the education of the girl child. This is a wake-up call to all our youths to understand that the society can no longer tolerate a situation where the girl child is not sent to school. You'll agree with me that the boys cannot deny the facts of the key role their mothers play in their life. Youths have sisters, have aunties, and you know that special role the girl plays in your family, in your life. I call with a very loud voice to all our male youths to take up this challenge, to be good vanguards and lead the war to ensure that the girl child goes to school. You must also stand as a protective shield against all the vices that affect the girl child, like the rampant cases of rape, the youths must form vanguards in their various communities to protect the girl child. They are your sisters, they are the mothers of tomorrow, and protecting them is protecting the entire society because these are the mothers of tomorrow. Let me use this opportunity to also congratulate all our governors and their spouses for the good work they are doing in ensuring the promotion of the girl-child education. Although more work needs to be done in the northern states. And this is where I salute the special role, the special key role our royal father, the former Emir of Kano, who has been playing and is still playing as our #1 champion to ensure that concerns of the girl child is taken with all seriousness. I appreciate you, Your Royal Highness. We thank you for that key role you've always been playing that needs emulation by all royal fathers in the country. We commend wives of our governors that are doing very, very well as mothers in their states. I appreciate all first ladies that are on this platform today. This shows your commitment, concern, and love to ensure that we make a difference, to ensure that our girls are in school. I want to also congratulate and commend the civil society organizations, our development partners, such as UNICEF, Save the Children, British Council, USAID, our religious bodies, and so many others that have been doing fantastic job in reaching the hard-to-reach areas with the message of promoting the girl-child education. My ministry is fully committed to ensure that we intensify advocacy at all levels, particularly with our religious leaders, our opinion leaders, to ensure that the girl child is in school. We must not stop until we see that the scale goes up and we record at least 99%, if not 100, of the girl child being in school. It is commendable to see that Nigerian youth are making a difference out there with many heading civil society organizations that are making meaningful impacts. That we scale up the enrollment of the girl child, not just enrollment, but retention and completion, at least to senior secondary school. The Federal Ministry of Youth, as well as other development partners, are also our partners in working towards accelerating the promotion, enrollment, and retention of our girls in school at all levels. You will agree with me that the post-COVID-19 society, we will again witness a reversal of progress made in the girl child education as a result of many factors, such as effects of family income, surge in rape cases and violence, which engulfed the country. I've noticed the high usage of the cyber space by the youth. In some cases, they have been indicted as accomplices or perpetrators of cybercrime. Let me appeal to the youths involved in this mindless act to redefine their goals and channel their energies to more productive engagements which promote the girl child education. The federal government has put in place projects to provide job opportunities for youths to reduce the level of unemployment in the country. The Empower is there. The social protection programs are there to support and encourage our youths. Please key into any of these special programs organized by the federal government to empower yourself and to be meaningful to your society. Therefore, leveraging on the positive political will of the current administration, we are working assiduously to ensure that states yet to domesticate the Child Rights Act do so. We are beginning to record success in the Northeast and Northwest states that were lagging behind in this. We are all canvassing for the domestication of the VAT Act 2015 to give credence to our efforts and the efforts of organizations working to raise the profile of our girls. I commend the National Assembly for ensuring that the greatest pandemic of sex for marks and survival in the Nigerian university system has been demystified with the groundbreaking passage of a bill for an act to prevent, prohibit, and redress sexual harassment of students in tertiary educational institutions and for matters concerned here with 2019. This will go a long way to bring about the much needed sanity in our institutions of higher learning. In addition, when fully operational, it will send clear signals to these lecturers and their cronies who have reduced our citadel of learning to a mere shadow of themselves, causing many promising young girls to abandon their dreams. I paid a thank you visit to the Senate President and his deputy who moved the bill. I also thank Her Excellency Ajia Umi, wife of the governor of Kaduna State, who also paid a thank you visit to the National Assembly on the passage of this bill. We call on more support from all our first ladies in the various states to rise up to this challenge and support this great campaign. Going forward, and to ensure that we support more girls in school, my ministry will soon roll out an encompassing project tagged campaign to support the girl child education in Nigeria. The goal of this project is to increase the current number of girls in school at all levels by addressing the structural and systematic barriers that hinder the implementation of an effective education program for the girl child. One of the strategies to achieve this is the provision of basic sanitary hygiene facilities within the schools and in our communities where these girls reside. The flag off of the 1 million girls pad distribution initiative, which was launched by my ministry in collaboration with other stakeholders during the 2020 Menstrual Health and Hygiene Day, provided a major opportunity to address the issue of post-menstrual hygiene among our girls, resulting from lack of education on the issue, persisting taboos and stigma, limited access to hygiene menstrual products, and poor sanitation infrastructure, which undermines the educational opportunities, health, and overall social status of youths and girls in Nigeria and the world at large. The project is conceived as a partnership, networking, and closer collaboration with some key stakeholders, such as professional women and youth groups, religious youth groups, the organized private sector, civil society organizations, and members of the diplomatic community. All these critical stakeholders are expected to key into the campaign in one way or the other. Let me conclude by calling on all our youths to shun all vices that jeopardize the image of the country. I look forward for more commitment from all our youths. For what you are doing now, I commend your efforts and I want to see more of it so that together we will be able to achieve the gender parity that we are all praying and striving for. I thank you all for listening. My special appreciation to His Royal Highness, our key champion, and all our first ladies and members of this platform. Thank you and God bless.
We want to say an incredible thank you to the minister for her extensive explanation of some of the things that the Ministry of Women Affairs is doing to promote getting the girl child back to schools, and also stamping out sexual violence, and also bringing down some of the barriers that disallow girls from going to school, like sanitary pads and the likes of it. So we have quite a few questions for the minister, but before we get to the questions, I would humbly like to ask if His Highness Sarki Muhammadu Sanusi has any comments to make. Please, the floor is yours. So I don't know if His Highness is still with us, but I will yield the floor to Her Excellency Hajia Maria Tambuol for a few comments, if you may, Dr. Maria.
Okay, good afternoon all. I want to commend the Minister of Women Affairs and the organizers of this program, and to thank the speakers. We have learned a lot as mothers of the state. We are going back to the youth to collaborate with them to see how we can help the girl education, which we have already done it and we are still doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would also like to have Hajia Aisha Ummi Garba El Rufai to say a few things, if you may. Questions, comments, anything is welcome.
Your Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Auntie Dame Pauline Talon, Auntie Dr. Mera Mandara, Auntie Farida, Fakria, Your Excellency, Haja Maria Tambuwal, pardon me not to mess up the protocols. Good morning, everyone. I commend the youth for joining in this movement, because it is very much needed. And the fact that everybody has a role to play in ensuring that the girl child remains in school, the girl child is protected and given a safe environment that she can be able to follow her future aspirations and harness her potential. I think that this is a very commendable effort, even for the youth to want to be a part of this. Shows that we all understand the necessity for girls to remain in school, at least until they complete their secondary school education. What do I say? In Kaduna State, Alhamdulillah, we have a system that already enforces that girls must finish secondary school and they attend for free. We try to see how we can engage girls, with things such as gardening, even while they're in school, teaching them the need for good nutrition, teaching them menstrual hygiene, and things like that. These would help in making sure that the girl child is able to have something to work with as she completes her secondary school. There are also talks about and preparations and I believe structures already for vocational skills to be taught in schools, so that even if, God forbid, a girl child is married off immediately after secondary school, she at least has something to be able to be economically empowered to continue living her life with and sustain herself. So, of course, we have concerns. There's COVID-19. Even with a limited number of schools now, even those schools are not, we're not able to, our girls are not able to attend schools, even with the limited number of schools. And I remember that last week during the webinar, there's something that really stuck with me. Dr. Mero Mandara suggested that there's something that they do with the IDP camps where people can go and spend 1 or 2 hours engaging, girls, engaging children, talking to them and teaching them 1 or 2 things. I think this is something that, and it has stuck with me, and I'm planning to do something like that. I think this is something that we all can be able to do in the midst of COVID-19. We could ensure a little crowd within the NCDC guidelines, but at least do something. Each of us can be able to impact on the lives of these girls, especially girls in the rural areas or the grassroots who are not able to have access to e-learning and things like that. So I believe that on the interim, until something very protective can be put in terms of measures for girls going back to school, and even better structures and more classes and more schools being put in our systems, I believe that this is one of the things we can do on the interim to help our little girls that need some sort of education in whatever form at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks. There are no doubts incredibly vital to the conversation, and especially as a woman empowered, there is a lot that can be achieved on your side. So thank you very much. So I would like to welcome some more few people, or just say a thank you for their presence here. We have the president of the Women Da'awa group, Haji Amram Idris Othman. Thank you so much for being with us, ma'am. We have Haji Amram Sunusi, the wife of His Highness Haji Muhammad Sunusi. Thank you so much for being with us. And we have the founder of the Youth Hub Africa, Rotimi Olawale. He's one of the organizations that's been working diligently to promote girl child education all across Nigeria. And I wonder if Rotimi is with us right now to spare a few comments and remarks about the way forward to mainstreaming the Keeping Girls in School initiative and broadening its spread. Rotimi, if you're with us, would you please unmute your mic for a word or two? We seem to have lost him. Okay, we'll keep an eye for him coming back. But we have quite a few questions here for the minister. And I'm just gonna push out 2 questions, wait for her to answer them, and then we'll move on to more questions. So one of the questions we have for the minister, Amina is asking what the sustainability plan for the 1 million pad distribution, especially because distributing pads as a one-off thing may solve the menstrual issues for that month. So, but what happens to the next month and how is the ministry going to keep on distributing these critical items to young girls in secondary schools? And have they thought about incorporating reusable pads into the campaign? Another question we have for the minister is, well, are there, okay. So the question is, how can we become role models in our local communities to serve the purpose of getting young girls back in school? To paraphrase that question, if you may, if you could answer these questions, and then I'll move on to more questions.
Thank you very much, Fakria, for those questions. Thank you, Amina. Yes, you are right. It's a serious issue of concern, the issue of sustainability of this plan. The flag of the menstrual program is not just a once and for all issue. It is in order to sustain it, we all must own this. We all as women and youth should own the project by committing to buy into this project. And that's why I listed out the stakeholders, professional women, and I also urge each professional woman to ensure you adopt a school in your community, or you select some number of girls that you adopt, that you make it mandatory that you will be supplying the sanitary pads on monthly basis to them. I'm also discussing with the Ministry of Education to see how we can, government can still take some part, play some part by providing monthly sanitary to schools. But this is not very sustainable because you don't expect government to do everything. I am advocating for stakeholders, community leaders, women and youths to own this project and drive it. And that's why within every community, if the educated women in that community take it upon themselves, or civil society organizations to own it within each community, we will be able to sustain it. And that is why as soon as we're through with COVID-19, even before COVID-19, we must intensify this advocacy to ensure that people key into this project, own it, and ensure that we drive it by ensuring that we supply these sanitary pads to the vulnerable girls, the poor families that cannot afford it. We are also trying the idea of the reusable pad. But our problem is the challenge of water. And that's why within each community, within each school, it is mandatory for every school to have a borehole, good school toilet facilities, and where these girls can effectively clean themselves and change their pads. Flowing within in all our schools, particularly the boarding schools, girls will be able to wash and maintain the reusable pads, which we are also thinking as an option. That is very good if water is available in our schools. So the issues that go with it is to have people own and support the distribution initiative to provide sanitary towels and basic hygiene products to girls in rural areas and hard to reach communities. Adopt a community to provide a borehole in that community and provision of clean toilets to encourage girls to go to school during this menstrual cycle to accelerate the fight against open defecation. These are the issues that I'm calling on all women and youths to key in and join in this project. Thank you. The second question, can you please take it up again? The second question, I did not.
Yes. Well, the second question is about the sustainability plan that the ministry may have in place for the distribution of 1 million pads, and the plan it has to incorporate reusable pads, especially in secondary school for girls.
That is what I've just answered now.
My apologies.
Did you hear me or not?
Huh? I think you've answered both questions because you've talked about the role that we can play in our local communities to help the process of both distribution of pads and getting girls back into schools and having them stay in schools. The next question is very timely. I don't think we can conclude this conversation without talking about the detrimental impact that the COVID pandemic has had on our communities, and especially on education, and especially on the educations of the girl child in many communities. As we know, a greater percentage of school children do not have access to materials online or even on TV to continue their studies. So the question is this: how is the Ministry of Women Affairs working with other relevant agencies to mitigate this education crisis that is unfolding right now? And what is the plan for ensuring that these pupils and students are able to catch up when schools finally decide to open up?
Thank you very much. We are working with civil society organizations, and as Umi rightly said, Dr. Meromandera threw up a powerful challenge to all of us last week when she brought the idea of engaging small groups of children, particularly the girl child, those in IDP camps, those in remote areas, and have since been reaching out to civil society organizations, women organizations, to ensure that particularly National Council of Women Societies in our various local governments, to ensure that they organize teachers that could make some sacrifices as volunteers to reach out within their communities, within their neighborhood, or the ones in the IDP camps, so that we can keep these children engaged, even if it is 1-2 hours on a daily basis in different groups. It is a challenge to all of us, and all hands must be on deck. I am happy we have 2 first ladies that are here with us and are very committed to the girl child education. I commend the wife of the governor of Kaduna and the wife of the governor of Sokoto State for being here and for the role you've been playing on the gender-based violence and the girl child education. I am also reaching out to all our other first ladies to ensure that we play that moderating role, to ensure that we engage our teachers, even if it is to give them some little stipends to volunteer and keep our girls in various communities busy with some lessons. It's a difficult and trying time for everybody, and we must do things in an extraordinary way because this is what COVID-19 has posed for all of us. I believe that all those that are on this platform will take up this challenge that Dr. Meromandara shared with us last week, and we do something to make a difference in the life of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. So before we get to more questions, I would love to have Hajia Rekia Sunusi say a word or two. That would be incredible.
I think she's trying to unmute. Can somebody give her permission to unmute, please?
Yeah, I think she has.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Your Royal Highness.
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Hello. We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you, Your Highness.
Yes. Hello. Hi there. Good morning to everyone. Fakria, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. Your Excellency, good morning to you, and thank you for making time on this program. I stand on all protocols, and to everyone, a good morning. I just wanted to say that the girl-child education is extremely important. His Highness has always been in support of this and is right at his heart, I must say that. I would also like to say that it's important we do educate our girl child. Education, I think that there's high illiteracy rates in education, especially in Nigeria and in the north, extremely high in the north. And this program is indeed timely. The girls, because of such a, sorry. I reiterate the fact that every child has the right to education and the right for a secure future as well. While saying that, we continue to employ on the government to continue to support these initiatives and to give it the seriousness that it requires. And I think because of the seriousness also of the situation, I think everybody in their own little corners need to give that support as well. The government cannot continue to do everything. I think it's overwhelmed. So every opportunity that we can get to support any girl should be encouraged. I think while children, girls that are educated will also continue to ensure that that the next generation will continue to be educated as well. There are situations where you see a lot of girls that are hawking on the streets because trying to generate an income for their families. If they are educated, they will be taken off the streets. They'll gain access to better jobs and better conditions for their own families as well. It will protect them from any exposure to molestation, from rape, from being abused by men as well out there. Also, they'll have access to better healthcare and earn higher incomes for their families as well. While we continue to focus on the girl child, I will also want to say, please don't ignore the boys. At the end of the day, the boys are the ones that are going to grow to become men, and they're the ones that will be marrying our female children out there as well. If we don't do this, there'll be an imbalance in society for sure. They will not be able to relate to each other. And this is where you find there'll be a lot of cases of abuse, because and that's the only way they will get to control them. So please don't forget the boys out there, please. They need attention as well. And also, the more you educate our children collectively, hopefully, with God's grace, inshallah, we'll see a reduction in drugs because they have nothing to do. There's the high rate of drugs out there, the drug abuse out there. Please, that's another area that we need to focus on as well. And also, early marriages also will definitely be reduced, and they'll see the value of education. Our religion calls for education and encourages it as well. And it will give them the exposure and the knowledge that they need. I think I will just leave that. I hope my it was useful. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you so much, Hajia. Those were incredibly wise words. And I'm sure the youth representatives are still on here and they're listening, and they will find that what you just said very valuable. I would like to have her esteemed Hajia Aisha Ummi just pass a note to us from His Royal Highness.
Okay, so we quickly tried to reach out to His Royal Highness as we did not hear from him as he was called to speak on the panel. And he sent his apologies to everyone. There's probably been a mix-up somewhere. He has not received the invitation or the link and has not been told that he would be on a panel. So he has another engagement at the moment, which is why he's not able to join us today. But we all know how he is our biggest he for she in this particular fight and lots of other fights, anything that concerns the girl child. And we are very proud of him and we thank him for being a part of this, even in his absence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have two more questions for the minister, and then we'd have Dr. Mero answer quite a few questions here that are aimed at GCC and the Keeping Girls in School initiative. So one of the questions we have here is, are there plans or structures put in place by the Ministry of Women Affairs to create alternative educational programs for female dropouts that would help enhance school retention and completion, and also provide them with a means of sustaining themselves?
Thank you very much, Fakria, for that question. The ministry has plans, and we are also working towards promoting the second chance education alternative for those whose educational journey was truncated along the line. Because the second chance education is key. And the ministry has plans for that and we are working again closely with the Ministry of Education to encourage the informal adult education, after which we also will train them and provide vocational skills opportunities for women and girls in rural communities. Our center, the National Center for Women Development, which is the only parastatal of the ministry, is already working with development partners in collaboration with the ministry to provide capacity building for women through training and empowerment at the end of the training. We train women in various skills: pomade making, soap making, even skills that are known to be special, especially for the men, like plumbing, engineering, we all do that to encourage the women that were, their education were truncated along the line. And we do that at the national center, we do that at the zonal level, and also at state level. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We just have one more question for you, and then we'll get on to the GCC. So I think this is an incredibly important question here. So Al-Hassan here is wondering if there are any plans for messaging strategies from the Ministry of Women Affairs to target some of the oppressive narratives that reinforce gender abuse and inequality. And additionally, what challenges or systems have you faced as the ministry in sourcing factual data on issues such as illiteracy, child marriage, abuse, out of school girl children?
Thank you very much. As I earlier mentioned in my speech, we are working closely with the Ministry of Education, and we have facts. A member, the ministry is also a member of the board of the UBEC. So we have statistics to guide us. We also have statistics of enrollment of children in primary and secondary schools. So these are what guide us. And the ministry is fully committed to intensify advocacy and to engage more of our civil society organizations and women organizations. The situation has reached a level that you don't just leave everything to the Ministry of Women Affairs. And the Ministry of Women Affairs is not a standalone ministry. We are working with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. We are working with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Information to intensify advocacy. And we are also encouraging and training all our gender desk officers in all the ministries. We have gender desk officers in every ministry. At the state level, we are on a platform where our commissioners of women affairs at the state level and social welfare officers at the local government level give us weekly reports on the situation. What is causing most of our snack now is the challenges posed by COVID-19. However, we must find ways of reaching out and supporting these girls, even in the IDP camps and various little corners, as Her Royal Highness has really emphasized, and Dr. Meiro Mandela, we all must put our hands on deck. All women organizations, civil society organizations, professional women organizations, all hands must be on deck to support the girl child and our boys. Her Royal Highness has rightly stated, the education of our children is a task that must be done. And we must engage both the boys and girls to see that they are engaged in schools, they have better education for a better tomorrow for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. That was quite informative, and I'm sure there's so many civil society organizations that have joined the call here, and I know they'll find this informative and they would be able to identify means of contacting the ministry to work and to partner with you on some of these issues. Like you said, these are very massive issues that the ministry on itself will not be able to plug in all of the holes that exist and close all of the gaps. And we have so many here in the comment section, and hopefully the Keeping Girls in School initiative would be able to create a means of identifying some of these critical organizations and pairing them with the ministry itself. So some of the other questions that we have are questions for the GCC, and I'm wondering if Dr. Mero would be able to answer some of these questions. I guess that's
Sure,
it.
I'll attempt. Fakria.
So one of the questions here is very specific to the GCC. Yakubu asks, how does the GCC provide free access to quality education and life skills development to these girls that you mentioned earlier? And how do you sustain these opportunities that you give, especially underprivileged girls?
Thank you. You did say there are many. Probably I'll take three.
Okay.
I'll take three questions, and then I'll.
Oh, so I'll call.
Do you want to ask
the
other questions, please?
Yeah. So the next one is, so what are the measures being taken by the KGIS and other networks that are closely linked to the GCC to ensure that girls can go back to school, bearing in mind that the COVID situation is increasingly becoming worrying when it comes to education, especially. And then the other question is quite related to this one, but it's also of a concern on how the COVID is going to erode the progress that's been achieved in pushing a lot of young girls into school. So now that schools are closed, what's going to happen to them? And if you permit me, there's one last question. So Sophia is concerned that the federal and state government are not doing the best they can to keep girls in school. And that is very limiting to CSOs and NGOs. And when it comes to resources, they do not have enough to, ensure to push for girls in schools. But the question here is that, do you think e-learning processes can be provided by NGOs and CSOs, and if they can be maintained? So the concern here is what happens to public school children, and especially girls.
Thank you very much, Fakria, and thank you very much all for joining us in this very important, if you like, campaign to ensure that all girls complete at least secondary school, learn life and livelihood skills, and also for joining the call by our champion and our sister leader, Poland, the my sister's wives of the governors. Now, I'll start with the last question from Sophia. Sophia, thank you very much for your intervention. You are right, e-learning are for children of the elite. And if there's anything e-learning is going to do, is going to ensure that some children continue to go to school and some children do not continue to go to school. So in the end, it will deepen social inequity and social injustice, which will create the likes of Boko Haram and other things. So you did say that the federal and state government is not doing as much as it should. I agree with you. But the bottom line is education of our children should be primarily our responsibility, supported by the government. We shouldn't, when parents decide to have a child, the upbringing of that child, the feeding of that child, the schooling of that child is their primary responsibility. And the government aid this by providing the schools. And I'm using this not to give an excuse to the government, but to remind us that in the Southwest governors are not any different from the governors in the North or in the East. Some of them get as little the same resources as some of the states in the north. Yes, every mother, every father does everything within their power to ensure that their children go to school. They sell pap, they wake up in the morning, they do all that they have to do to make sure their children go to school. These are lessons for us that we need to learn from. We need to learn from our sisters and brothers from other parts of the country and ensure that we also do the same. I'm not creating an excuse for government, but we parents also have to do something about that and make sure that we're not dependent totally on government. At the moment, the government is trying very hard to make sure that they're providing some form of education, but you know what? That's also skewed with inequity. It's not every family that has TV. It's not every family that has radio. It's not every family that has internet. In the rural areas, some areas have never seen electricity. Now, this is where all of us in this platform also have a first-class responsibility, and that is in our communities. If we live across where there's a local government education authority school, government schools, public schools, we can, even within the restrictions of COVID, have lessons for 5 to 10 children respecting spaces in the COVID. Children in your environment, sit under the tree in the open, teach them ABCD, teach them how to read, teach them how to write. Each one of us can do that. We don't need government to do this, and we don't need government permission to do this. And we can do this even with the COVID as it is. The second is, somebody also did write a comment that with a salary of 30,000, how can you support others to go to school? You don't need to pay a kobo if you want to support somebody. You can simply talk to some children. You can teach them whatever little you have. You can also encourage their parents to do. The issue, the centrality of the issue is that people who want to support others will do so. And people who will not want to support others, even if they are millionaires, they will not do so. So the thing is in our mind. A lot of it is not in our pocket, it's in our mind. If we want to do it, we will do it. If we don't want to do it, we will not do it, even if we have billions. Somebody asked, going to school in the COVID, I'm sure it's one of the reasons that's elevating rape, because the children are always around adults, they're not around children themselves. So we're encouraging government, we're seeing what they're doing, we're encouraging them to find ways of ensuring that these children are engaged. And somebody said, it's actually in the mind. Yes, it is in the mind. Now, how does GCC provide school for these girls, and how is it sustainable? What we do is, our scholarship, we give scholarship to girls, and once we go to very rural areas where enrollment, retention, and completion is very, very low, we look at their data in the State Education Resource Center. We do researches, we go to these villages, and we find girls in public primary school that are smart and intelligent and that are really excited to learn. We screen them, we go to their homes to see how the condition of the families are. We ensure that they're really poor, or in the case of Borno, we IDP camps and bring them together, and then we interview them and make sure they're either orphans or their parents are extremely poor. We bring this together, girls, and we know how much it will cost for us to train a girl in a year. And you know how we raise our funds? From donation from ourselves. For example, all of my friends, a lot of my friends, I harass them instead of one lace. Please give us the money for one lace. Please adopt a girl. And let me tell you, Mala Nasir El-Rufai adopts 5 girls, and his former chief of staff, Hadiza Bala Usman, adopts 7 girls. Governor Tambol at some stage was adopting 20 girls, but he has stopped now. The Sultan adopts 10 girls. Archbishop Onayikong adopt girls, some bishops, and so we just go to friends, everybody. And there's so many of my friends that are adopting one girl at a time. Some people are giving 500 naira, some people are adopting fully. Donor money, no donor is giving us money. We're just asking our friends. And myself, I use my zakat for that. I have a number of my friends that give their zakat to support girls to go to school. So this is how we do it. And this is how we've been doing it for the last nearly 20 years. And the first two girls we supported, one is a pharmacist, the other is a lecturer in College of Education. And currently we have some of the girls that we've had, we're lucky to have scholarship. Some are in University of Notre Dame in the USA. And one of them actually got a Dean's Award this year. So she's going to be on the Dean's Award. She's on the Dean's Award list. What we have. And this is what you all can do. Use what you have. Please don't wait for government. Please don't wait for donors. Do what you can on your own. And then people will see that you're doing good work and people will support you. I hope I have answered all the questions.
Almost. We just have 2 more questions. And because we have a little bit of time, we have about 10 minutes. So yeah, we have, and I think that's enough for the closing remarks from Dr. Mero and everyone else. So, well, one of the questions is a sequel to what you had just explained about funding your scholarships, and especially for the KGIs. The question is that a sustainable model, and does it maximize the impact of having the impact if you were to seek other avenues of resourcing these scholarships, and would that increase impact in terms of your community reach? So that's one of the questions. And the other question is the KGIS looking to expand beyond just Nigeria and Ethiopia, or is this just the pilot, and you want to see how that plays out before you expand? And sorry, one last question. So this question is more about is more historical. So it's, why is there such a disparity between the out-of-school children in the North and the South? Why is that gap very huge? And how can it be closed or completely eradicated so that we have very minimal out-of-school children?
Thank you very much, Fakria. Is our scholarship model sustainable? I think having done it for over, because we're not depending on others, we're depending on ourselves and what we're able to raise based on the work we're able to do. Now, having worked for the last 20 years in development sector, 25 years in development sector, there are lots of assumptions that young people and adults make, which is, if you have a good idea, a donor will give you money. Donors will not give you money to do your idea. Donors will give you money to do their ideas and what they have made up their mind they want to do. So if you have your own idea, the best way to get it done is to roll your arms and dirty your hands and put on your boots and get it rolling. And if you're doing a good job, some donors will come to you. And the second is, having worked and headed one of the biggest foundation in the world, which in Nigeria, the Gates Foundation, I do know that the sustainability of any country is being self-dependent. We cannot develop by depending on donors. We have to develop by depending on ourselves and doing the right thing, stop the corruption. stop the misuse of resources, prioritize what you use. And I'll give you a very popular example, since a lot of you are young people. A young person who is literally earning nothing, who is depending on his or her parents to give them pocket money to fuel their car, wants to buy a Gucci bag. They want to go and make up their face, paying 50,000. He wants to wear a Vinci shoe. So these are non-sustainable attitudes. We need to change our attitude and our approach to money and how we use resources and how we invest. So a lot of it is rethinking, recalibrating our minds and what we do. Sustainability, so therefore, is the KGIS is, yes, it's a pilot. We had African traditional leaders come from 20 countries. We decided to start with the two most populous countries in Africa, Nigeria and Ethiopia. And we are piloting this up to the end of next year. If it succeeds and we're able to increase enrollment, retention, and completion of secondary school for girls, if we're able to get young people begin to take responsibility for the future of others around them, if we succeed in getting traditional and religious leaders taking the lead in ensuring change in minds and attitude in their country, in their communities, and increasing this sense and creating the ownership, if we're able to galvanize women to be role models and also to mentor other girls to ensure that this thing continues, we will continue across Africa. And already other African countries are in the advocacy, but the targeting of working directly with names of traditional and religious leaders, names of women groups and youth advocates, yes, is a pilot. And we hope together, starting from Nigeria and Ethiopia, we can move the agenda forward in Africa. Yes, big disparity between especially the Southwest and the North. Big disparity. And it's historical, but it's also something that should have been corrected 10, 20 years ago. What is the big difference? The big difference is our attitude towards education. They believe in education, particularly Western education. We are nonchalant. Second, they will do anything, work hard. A woman will wake up at 3 a.m., wash beans, make moi, sell akara in the afternoon, do everything she can, save. I've seen government workers, deputy directors in ministries, when we travel out, they eat gari and granite so that they can save money to send their children to Harvard or Oxford. So it's our attitude. So we need to change our attitude and we need to prioritize. It's not about religion, because the Muslims in the Southwest are as educated as everybody else in the Southwest. It's not about culture. The Hausa people that are living outside Hausa land are well educated. And once upon a time, Katsina had one of the most educated women in the country, and now they are one of the most backward. Borno had the first female GM of the Nigerian Airways in the 60s. General manager, she opened the London office of Nigerian Airways. Today, our girls are not in school. So it is our change of mind, and it all has to begin with all of us that share this passion. Thank you very much. And if there are no more questions, is this a time to conclude, for me to say the thank you, or I come back to you first, Fakria?
Yes, I believe we can conclude, because you've covered the entire ground of questions that remain. But one person is asking, Ms. Zainab here is asking how she can adopt a girl. So what we'll do is put her through to GCC, and we'll know what kind of adopting she's talking about. But beyond
Thank you,
that,
Zainab.
I think we can very much close the discussion here.
So thank you very much. And by the way, in introducing Fakria, she was not introduced as the Friends of GCC. Fakria and other young people also lead a group they call Friends of GCC. Friends of Girls Child Concerns, and basically what they were doing before she left for school were going around schools, government schools, giving talk to young girls and boys and encouraging them to go to school. And when those young girls and boys had issues, they were solving them. And they were also going to villages around Abuja, building boreholes, teaching old people around resuscitation. I remember she and Aziza and a host of them were doing a lot of this work. So thank you very much, Fakria, for Friends of GCC, and I hope you continue, you create a Friends of GCC in the UK. Thank you very much, our Honorable Minister, our sister. As usual, we look up to you. We'll continue to support you. Whatever you need to do, we will be there to support you. And please, everybody, let's keep continuing to support. Let's give her a clap. Let's give her a clap. And our First Ladies, Hajia Aisha El-Rufai, has been with us from the very beginning when we started this webinar. Hajia Maria, I hope you continue to join us as we do the next phase. Thank you very much, Hajia Rekia, Auntie Kori Habib, the UNICEF Youth Champion. I saw a lot of youth champions coming in. And also in this house, we have some of our scholars in touch, GCC scholars from University of Notre Dame in the US. They also joined us. We have Abubakar Lawal from the UK. He is also joined us. And we have UNICEF, UNFPA. We have Isa Wali Empowerment Initiative. Amina Hanga, thank you very much. Kayla Gadi is calling us from the US. Thank you, Kayla, for joining. And Leila, Dina, Majida, and Godia from Boston, thank you for joining us. So you see, we're a big, big family, and our folks from the Ethiopia, I don't have your specific name, Yilma, but please extend our thanks and gratitude to all of them. And thank you very much to the GCC team for pulling this through. And we hope that all of us will have stories to tell. Please and please and please continue to do the good work you're doing and continue to support girls and boys around your community. It's not okay if only you are okay. It's only okay when all of us are okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mero. And with that, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you so much, the Honorable Minister, Hajia Aisha Umi, Dr. Mero, everyone that Dr. Mero has called out here, everyone that has made a comment, that has sent in a question, the members of the KGIS project. Thank you so much for such an incredible initiative. And also beyond this, we would definitely follow up and see how we can create a feedback system around what the youth representatives are doing, so that we'll be able to shed more light on it and bring more young people into this very structured initiative. So with that, thank you so much to everyone at the GCC that put together this event. Thank you for having me. Have a lovely rest of the day, everyone. Thank you so much.